And hello everyone, welcome back to another Love2D tutorial. So in the previous tutorial we did the asteroid. Whilst we could continue there, I think I'm going to leave that for maybe a next tutorial. In this tutorial, let's add the lasers. You know, because when you have a spaceship, you can go pew 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 and that should be destroying the asteroids. Whilst we'll not be implementing the destroying of the asteroids yet, we will be implementing the lasers themselves. Now the lasers are much easier than you might think they are. They're basically just dots on the screen that move around. So there's not a lot of complicated math in drawing them, it's just a little circle or square that moves. So to give you an example of what we will be doing, let me just go here and start one up. Alright, so here is the example. If I press space, it shoots an asteroid. There's a limited amount of asteroids allowed on the screen. So if you have too many asteroids on the screen, it will remove some of the previous asteroids. But yeah, currently if you shoot an asteroid, it can't, because the lasers cannot destroy anything yet. And I might have said asteroids earlier, I mean there's a limited amount of lasers that can be on the screen, not asteroids, a limited amount of bullets. Alright, it's that simple. Let's first create a new object, and we can call it laser.lua, because this is an object, because it's the laser, it's a bullet. Then right here, we could just remove that, and we could say function laser. Then we want the X position, the Y position, and then the angle it's shooting at, because the player might be at a specific angle and we want to shoot out of that angle. So if the player is looking upwards, we want to shoot upwards of that angle. Anyhow, then this will return a table, and then we can just return laser. And there we go. Now first we want to set the laser speed. So setting this will determine how fast the laser moves. So how many pixels per second. In our case, I think about 500 pixels a second is perfectly fine. To some of you that might be a little fast, so you might want to turn it down. Or to some it might be a little bit slow. But it's up to you. So local laser speed is equal to 500. So in pixels per second. We can then set the X equal to the X that was passed in. The Y equal to the Y that was passed in. Now let's first draw what we have. So let's draw. That's equal to a function. And this function will just take in self and fade it as well. So if we pause, it should also fade out just like everything else. And we can say local opacity is equal to 1. If faded, then opacity is equal to 0.2. Then love.graphics.set color, and you can make this red or green or whatever color you think a laser should be. But I'm just going to make it white. But you can customize the game and make it red, green, blue, purple, whatever color fits your eye the best. You can make everything colorful and much more playful. And we can just also pass in the opacity. Since we are literally just using a dot, we can use a point. So just like a point on the screen. Luckily, Love2D already has this built in. So we can just say love.graphics.set point size. And this is how big the dot will be. I'm just going to say 3, but we'll play around with this so you can figure out what size is perfect for you. Then we can say love.graphics.points. And now we can draw the point on self.x and self.y. And we forgot to require love, but yet again it's optional. So local love is equal to require love. There we go. Nice. We'll add this later, but for right now, let's just see how everything looks if we put it on the screen. Alright, so let's go to player, because here is where we'll be adding the lasers. We can go to the top and add a new item. We can call it lasers, and that will just be a table that's empty, because we can have multiple lasers. So we'll just have a table that can hold all of the lasers for us. We can then scroll down, and maybe right above the draw, we can add a shoot laser function. This function will allow us to shoot a laser, and that's it. This could be inside of lasers or inside of game or whatnot, but I feel putting it inside of player makes the most sense, because if you say player and then colon shoot laser, it makes so much sense. But if you say just laser shoot laser, it's kind of weird. So if you say player shoot laser, then you know the player is shooting a laser. And if you add an enemy, like maybe a spaceship, and the spaceship can shoot lasers, then yet again you can just say spaceship or enemy colon shoot laser. You can follow the same structure and it would always make sense. Cool. Now, for now, let's just go shoot laser, and that can be a function that takes in self. And here we can just go table.insert self.laser, and then create a laser object. And we need to import laser. So you can say local laser is equal to require, and then objects laser. Now I don't know if this dot syntax works, but if it works, let's use it. But if it doesn't work, you can use a slash. I'm going to try this dot syntax because my IDE constantly autocompletes it like that for me, so let's see if it works. Now down here, where we do this, we can go laser, and then it needs the x-axis, and the x-axis will basically be the same as our player, but we'll tweak this a little bit just to get it right. Let's go self.x, and we'll tweak it so it's found like this. Self.y, self.angle. Cool. We'll tweak it more later because this won't necessarily work that great yet, but I just want to get it on screen. Now if we go to main, we can go maybe right here to where it says this key release, and we can say, or actually let's leave that for now. Let's go here first. And we have a few things we might want to do to shoot. So there's a few things the user can press if they want to shoot. First, I think space is a good item to press. Then as well as down, like the down arrow key. And then KP5, like that is the 5 on the numpad. I think that's also a good one. And in here we could just say player shoot laser, and this will shoot the laser. Now I also want the laser to be shot if a mouse is pressed. So let's say if the right mouse button is clicked, we want the laser to be shot. So if they want to play with their mouse, they can. So let's actually do that. So we can say function love.mousePressed, and this takes in quite a few things. So first it is X, it is Y, it is the button that has been pressed, is touch, for example if it's a touch screen, and presses, which is also for if it's a touch screen. I believe this X and Y is mainly for the X and Y position on screen. So let's say I click here, then that would be like 50-50 XY. Now here, you can say if button is equal to 1, and this is their left mouse button, I think. Then we can say if game.state.running, so only if it's the running state, player colon shoot laser, and I will shoot the laser. Cool. But currently if we're trying to shoot the laser, we won't see anything because we are not drawing it. So let's go to player and let's put the draw also here. So every object can basically contain its own version of the laser. So if you have multiple lasers on the screen, then every object will handle their own laser. So let's go here to draw. Let's just do it at the very bottom. So 4, and we can just say underscore because we don't need the key. Laser in pair self dot lasers, and we can just say laser colon draw, and then faded. And this faded is basically what's being passed in here. It's like that. Let's see if this works. Okay, space, and there we go. Currently they didn't move because we haven't put anything there. But now we can create a bunch of cool little lasers. And we can not use our mouse button. And the reason for that would be, let's see. That should be state. Like that. Now we can use our mouse button as well. Cool. So these are our lasers. As you can see, they're just little dots on the screen. They are only little dots because if we go to lasers, we're using points. If we were to increase this to, let's say, 30, then it will be massive dots, as you can see. So it depends on how big you want your lasers to be. Some people would like them to be really small, although then it's kind of difficult to see them. Oh gosh, where's my player? There we go. As you can see, it's very difficult to see them. So I think 3 is about a good size, but you could go up to something like 5 or even higher depending on what your preference is. But 5 is a little big. For me, personally, I'm going to go 3 because that just looks perfect. Cool. So let's implement the rest of the things into our laser class. So next up, we'd want to move the laser. So we can go move is equal to a function. This function just takes in self. Now, just like with the player, we need the velocities, x and y velocities. So we can go here and we can say x vel for x velocity is equal to the laser speed times math.cos, pass in the angle, that's the angle we got here, so the same angle as the player, divided by, and then love.timer.get FPS. Yet again, it would be better to rather put something like dt here, just because it would be safer. But I don't think it's that necessary for a game this small. But if you plan on making this game much bigger, then you could definitely implement dt here. Next, we can do the same for the y velocity. But this time, instead of sin or cos, we can go sin, like that. Now we have the x and y velocities. We also at some point probably want to remove the laser from the screen. And how we determine that is based on whatever you want. You can base it on time, for example. If it's been on the screen for 5 seconds, remove it. Or something like that. I, however, am going to determine that based on the distance it has traveled. So let's say it can only go 1.5 way around the screen or around the window. Something like that. So we can just say distance for the distance traveled, and we can make that equal to 0. Cool. Now we can continue to this move function here. And we can say self.x is equal to self.x plus self.x velocity. We say x velocity because remember, that's how fast it moves on the x-axis. Cool. And then we do the same for y. Nice. Now we want to keep this on screen. So we can actually just go here and we can copy this. You could possibly make this a function and then just reuse the function constantly because we're copying and pasting this the whole time. So it would actually be better to create a function and put this in. But that can be your homework if you want to walk the extra mile. Now for this right here, we don't have a radius because remember, we're just a dot on the screen. We are no longer a circle. We're just a dot. So here with the self.radius, we can just remove that. So like that, delete. Now it should be self.x less than 0. We set x to the width. If it's, and your self.radius with a minus, so let's just also remove all of those. There we go. If it's more than the width, then we want to set it to 0 and not the radius because we don't have a radius. So we're going to set it to 0 because remember 0 would be this point right here where the window starts. Same here, the y0 would be this point right here where the window starts on the top. Next up, we want to say how far it has traveled. So the distance it has traveled. So self.distance is equal to self.distance plus math.square root. And here first we could say self.x velocity to the power of 2 plus self.y velocity to the power of 2. And this will just get us the distance it has traveled from point A to point B. This little part here. Cool. You could use some different math if you want to, but this works perfectly fine. Nice. Now we have the laser and the laser can move. Now let's move the laser. So I'm going to do that right here inside of this player. So right at the bottom. And we can just move the laser from here. So for index laser in self dot lasers, we can then say laser colon move, and this will move the laser. Now if we were to run this, the laser should move. Oh gosh, it's moving, but it's shooting in the wrong direction. Okay, so we did some wrong math, but now the lasers, they do shoot. So let's just go back to lasers and see what we got wrong. Oh, and right here, this should be negative because it's going to move in a slightly different manner. Now it should go out of, yes, now it goes out of the top. Cool. Now that is fixed, we can have a ton of lasers on the screen. I think that's actually pretty cool. Now, never do you really want this many lasers on the screen. You want to limit it. So we have to basically tell the lasers to destroy themselves once they're completed with all of this, once they're done. So let's go here to the player and implement that. So let's go to the top and we can specify the amount of distance the lasers are allowed to travel. So we can say local laser distance. You can also call this max laser distance if you want. And I'll make that equal to 0.6. So they can basically move 0.6 the width of the window before they get destroyed. So they can't go the whole width, but they can go 0.6 of it. You can change this to make it them travel further or less, depending on what you prefer. We can also then specify the max amount of lasers on the screen, and that can be 10. You could make it more or less depending on how difficult you want the game to be. When you implement maybe levels, you could make that, let's say on the most difficult level, you can only have like 3 lasers on the screen at once. Cool. Now we need to implement something that will destroy the lasers. So I'm going to copy this right here, and instead of shoot, it will be destroy. And this is very basic. We can just say table.remove, and we can say from self.lasers and then the index. So now here we can also just take in the index. So it will remove the laser at that index inside of the table. Now where we move the laser, so down here, there we go. Here where the laser moves, we can say if, and I'm just going to do this inside of some brackets, but you don't have to. I just feel more comfortable if I do that. Love.distance, love, that should be laser, laser.distance. If that is more than the max laser distance times love.graphics dot get width, and let me just fix this. So if the laser has traveled 0.6 of the screen width, so that's what we're doing here, so 0.6 of this screen width, if it's more than that, then we want to remove it. We can then go here and say self.destroy laser. And it's passing self and index. The index that we're getting here. So this will be the index where this laser can be found, which we're using here to destroy it. Right there. Now if we run this, then as you can see, the laser gets destroyed. If the laser moves too fast, you can make it slower. If it's too slow, you can make it faster. We can only have up until 10 lasers on the screen. But we haven't really implemented the whole 10 lasers thing just yet, because we can definitely shoot more than 10 if I had to guess. I'm not going to count that, but let's make it 3 so we can actually see the difference. Now if we were to run this, as you can see, there's definitely more than 3. So what we can do is we go to shoot laser and we limit it. So if the numbers in self.laser, so if the amount of lasers is less or equal to max lasers, then only do we want to do this whole insert thing. Otherwise, just ignore it. Don't allow us to insert another laser. So if we go here, my bad, and we run it, here we currently only are able to do 4 because this is less or equal to. So we could make it less instead, and now it will be more accurate. As you can see, only 3 at a time. Now if we were to change this here to, let's say, 10, then boom, Bob's your uncle, we can only shoot 10 lasers at a time. We're limited now. So you can see there's like a little wait period once I've reached that amount. So you can tweak that to make the game more challenging or easier depending on what you prefer. Cool. Now one last thing is, let's make sure all our buttons can shoot the laser. Okay, cool. So down works, space works, the button number 5 on the numpad works, and the mouse works. Okay, so if all the buttons work, that means we have done our job correctly. We have now implemented shooting lasers in the game. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed and will join me in the next tutorial, where we'll be implementing this laser collision. And I will see you all again in the next Love2D tutorial.